Are you a company looking for someone to help them with their content? Why not try out GL Pro? GL Pro are a business based in London that help lots of companies like yours develop content for the web, whether it's film, audio, podcasts, or even website design. Get in contact with them today for a free consultation on www.glpro.co.uk. Sanj Surati Talks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Sanj Surati Talks. We're in it now. 6 episodes in. It's been amazing. We're getting lots of people contact us, which is kind of weird because when I set this up, I didn't realize people were going to connect with it, but they are, and it's great. Today, I've got someone. She is amazing. She's on the same PR team as All About Promo. So Luke's hooked us up with this lovely lady. Her name is Reema, and she's based in Brighton and Hove. Reema, how you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is a really nice kind of connection with a person, a rare connection with a person these days.
Reema, I want you guys to talk to the audience because we talked about it before we pushed record on here. Your audio is sounding amazing.
Thank you.
It
Thank
sounds cool.
you.
I mean, so tell us about your setup at the moment.
Well, at the moment, I'm speaking to you from my home studio. I'm talking to you through a Shure microphone, an SM7B.
Wow.
And we're speaking to you with the wonders of technology. So this is kind of exactly how I record my work that I do at home. So it's pretty much exactly the same setup that you would have if I was going to record a record right now.
Awesome. And just with regards to your headphones as well, what headphones are you using? Because we've got a couple of geeks on here.
Let me have a look. Hold on a second. They are Bayer Dynamic headphones.
Bayer Dynamic. All right.
Yeah.
If you guys are listening to this, please give us a sponsor shout. That'd be wicked. There's going to be quite a few people on here who don't know much about you. It'd be great if you could just give them an intro into who you are as an artist, etc.
Well, I've been writing songs since I was a really little kid, since I was 7. And I started doing it because I wasn't really great at communicating or talking to people. And it was a kind of imaginary friend that I could kind of say anything to and it wouldn't judge me. You know, I never really thought I would end up playing my songs to people, definitely not back then. But it was something that kind of stayed with me and grew. And I feel very lucky to do what I love doing as my thing. But I'm also a visual artist as well. I do illustration and I'll do all the artwork for the records and things. And it's a great thing to be able to express.
Awesome. And then just with regards to you as an artist musically, when did you start releasing your material?
I started releasing my material quite late on, actually, because I really the songs that I was writing myself. I was in a punk band for about 5 or 6 years, and
Wow.
really enjoyed playing that character. Because as you can probably tell by my voice, I'm quite sort of shy, and I wasn't kind of this sort of big character. So I used that to be this person that I would have loved to have been. But I kind of, I was still writing songs as myself. And so we never really released any music as the punk band. We just were like throwing ourselves around stages. And then when that all ended, I just thought, okay, why not? Let's make a record. So
Wow.
that was a few years back, and now I'm releasing my first EP as myself, being myself.
That record is called Lioness, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yes.
Just touching on that punk thing. So are you a native from Brighton or Sussex area?
No, I'm from London. I'm from just outside London, Twickenham
Whereabouts?
area.
Oh, Twickenham. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Hampton Court. So I
Oh,
know.
yeah, you're so
Yes.
near.
So I know Twickenham, Kingston, Richmond. With regards to your punk days, was that within the leafy suburbs of Southwest London, or was that down in Brighton?
It was in South. We started in Southwest London, while we were all still at school, and then we kind of moved. We all moved to East London and started playing a lot around there, and just anywhere that would have us, we played.
Awesome. And then with regards to the punk band, what was the punk band called?
We were called Battle Cat.
Battle Cat. So
Yes.
this is. Do you know what? It's a small world. It is a small world. So so I'm the singer in a band called Anonymous Tip.
No.
Yes, and we used to we used to play with you guys.
We played together.
Yeah,
Actually, more than once.
loads of times. This
Yes.
is random. So we haven't
That
heard
is so
from each other.
amazing.
I think it's been like
Hello.
15 years or something. That's crazy.
Yeah. That was many, many years ago. That's the coolest thing ever. I'm so happy now.
Wow.
You guys were amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we had our thing, and yeah, I mean, we still perform, but not as much as, you know, some of us got kids, and you know,
Oh,
life
you
takes
must
over.
tell me when you perform. I would love to see you play
Yeah.
again.
Did Battle Cat ever play in Brighton?
No, because I moved to Berlin, which was a
Ah,
kind of strange tangent. But when we, the band was sort of coming, we tried really hard to make recordings, and because we were such a kind of live act, it just never translated. And I think that was always a problem with music with me, was just kind of trying to capture the magic of being in front of people and communicating with people and being on the stage, and then trying to put it into a recording was always kind of like disappointing. It didn't have that magic of being present and being there.
absolutely.
So, that was kind of what frustrated us in the end. And, and of course these things don't always last forever. But then I moved to Hamburg kind of by mistake. I just went there and started making music and met some amazing people, and realized that I was spending more and more and more time there.
Yeah.
And didn't admit that I'd moved there for a while, but I had moved.
How long were you in Germany for?
I was in Germany probably about 10 years, if you add it all together. Yeah.
Well, and
It's a
I
long
mean, for me,
time.
like, I actually fell in love with Germany over the last 10 years. Actually, I run an innovation agency, a tech company. I used to do a lot of work with BMW, so I used to go out to Germany all the time, to Munich, Frankfurt. I don't know why I kind of put it off for so long. It's such a beautiful country, like so diverse, so much, like there's a huge art scene there. The beer's amazing, the food's amazing.
Yeah, they definitely have they have just some amazing, it's a really crazy country, because it's like lots of countries all stuck together, because it's just so massive, and
Yeah,
every single city's got its own vibe and its own culture. And it's a really exciting place to be, with some really wonderful, crazy, diverse groups of people. And yeah, it was an amazing thing to go over there and live there and kind of experience that.
with regards to the stuff that you did with Battle Cat, what instrument did you play?
I didn't. I just jumped around and screamed at people. was It was in a funny way more performance art than music.
Yeah. But do you know what? Like, it's good to do that at some point in your life, like to kind of just expel all that energy through, through music art, in an artistic way. I love it. I mean, that's why.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why Anonymous Tip still plays, because when we get up on stage, we're just in seventh heaven. You're just grooving. It's brilliant.
It's the best, isn't it? I don't think there's any better form of therapy than just chucking yourself around a stage and just, losing all your inhibitions. And, you spend your whole life worrying about what people think, or, am I being weird, or did I do this? And, once you've done that, you realize, like, actually there's actually no one cares. It's fine. Do what you want.
So, with regards to you as an artist, as Reema, so you've toured quite a lot. Like, you've performed with lots of really big names. You've released 2 vinyl records. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, vinyl only records. Yeah.
When were they released?
Well, we did one, I think 2017, the first one came out, and then the other one came out the beginning of this year.
Wow.
And it was a friend of mine, Guy Sternberg, who has a beautiful, beautiful studio in Berlin called Lowswing Studio. And he's got some insane equipment there, and just the most beautiful analog setup. And we'd had all these talks about, doing a recording that was just completely 100% live, completely no computers. There's no computers involved at all. And just
Wow.
having everybody in the room, he wrote these arrangements for, I think the first record we got really ambitious and we had like 14 musicians. We didn't do it for the second one because we realized that really will kill us.
Right.
But 14 musicians all in a room was our kind of biggest thing. And it was an amazingly terrifying experience. We just didn't really do it because we thought people would listen to it. I think we both thought it was kind of just something that we wanted to do. And he put it out on his label, Lowswing Records, which is just entirely vinyl. It's only vinyl, limited edition vinyl records. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's
what was the name of the record label?
Lowswing Records.
Lowswing Records, and they're based in Berlin. Did you say?
Yeah. And they're worth checking out because Guy's a really interesting fella. I can't say Guy's a really interesting guy, so I have to say he's an interesting fella. He's really, really talented, and it's worth checking out. And if you have any listeners who are super geeky, definitely check out Lowswing Studio and have a look at the equipment and what they've got there because it is really, really impressive.
Brilliant. I'll do some research after we've done this, and I'll put a link to their website in the liner notes for this podcast for sure. With regards to geeks, I'll tell you something. We've had so many really inquisitive questions come through this podcast that I didn't realize just how geeky people are until I started doing this podcast. Hence why I was asking you about like the mic and the headphones, because people are just really interested in that. So yeah, if you want to geek out, just let it flow. It's all good.
Oh, excellent. But I mean, I didn't really, that was a kind of world that I hadn't spent time in before I did the 2 vinyl. Right. And it's just really interesting sort of realizing that you've got audiophiles out there who are just absolutely dedicated to listening in the best possible circumstances on the best possible gear, who are interested in how things are recorded, just interested in sound. Because I think it's a different passion, being interested in sound and being interested in music, because you can love music and just listen to it through your phone. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there are some people who just really care about the sound as well. And I have a lot of respect for those people. I think it's amazing.
Absolutely. And vinyl to me is the best sound,
Oh, it really is. And it's interesting because it's kind of softer in a way. It doesn't it's the waves are softer. It's kind of easier for your ears to digest. And I think it's beautiful. And also being a somebody who illustrates and draws and things, so it was just the best thing to be able to do a proper cover that's not the size of a little thumbnail on a screen, to actually do some artwork that gets printed and people can see. That was very nice.
Anonymous Tip, my band, and some of the other groups I work with, we still create music, and I used to find the process of creating the artwork to be such a therapeutic and spiritual experience, because that's been devolved into that little stamp. You don't really have that fun experience anymore. And I'm sure there's people that haven't had that fun experience, and they should, so it's great that you're still doing that. How many vinyls did you press up?
Well, we did 500 of each of the records, the Lowswing sessions and Memories Fade to Tape.
Yeah.
And both of them sold out really quickly. The second one, we actually didn't have any copies of it for the release concert. So we had a few angry people that came along and just wanted to get it there. So, and our distributor said to us, look, you've just got to print some more. So we are doing a second pressing.
Awesome.
of the second one, and we are considering doing one of the first one as well, but we had no intention to do a second pressing. It will look a little bit different for people who got the first one, because obviously we said it was a limited edition, so we felt a little bit like, oh, can we even do this? But we have, and we will.
But that's the age we live in now, where when people are exploring their niche or whatever it is that they're into, they find things, and maybe someone in, I don't know, 20 years time picks up that first 500 version of that record and goes, wow, I've got it. I went to the gig and I didn't get it, but now I have it. Like that feeling can be incredible. Awesome. Are you okay? Did you
Yeah.
You didn't just fall over or something?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
Gesundheit.
Just dropped my guitar a little bit. It's fine.
Oh God, is it okay?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It didn't fall. It was just cat-like reflexes. Mixed with also.
Just a few things. So we talked about the vinyl, which was your first release. You've sold all of them, which is brilliant. There's some second pressings happening. So the nurturing of your fan base, it's starting to grow. They're loyal. They've kind of bought into this fantastic persona that you've created, that you're crafting, which is brilliant. And you've worked with some amazing producers on. Is that on the new record, or was that on the vinyl session?
No, that was previously before I started with the before I did this, I did a couple of records in Germany as Mimi, and the second record we were lucky enough to work with Stephen Street. Amazing, that was like my dream producer to work with, and
he worked with the Smiths, the Cranberries, like Blur.
Yeah.
And then what was that like working with him?
Just an absolute pleasure. I mean, I was absolutely terrified to go into the studio with him because, he's just worked with these amazing people. And I just, I had this I actually contacted him weirdly on LinkedIn. Just, when you can pay to send a message.
Yeah.
I actually did that and wrote him in the middle of the night because I was just like, I just want to give this a go. And he wrote me back, and I was just amazed, and it was just, I learned so much from him, from his attitude to music, from the way that he does things. He's really into sound, but what's amazing about him is his ability to make decisions. And I think that I learned so much just from that, just the fact that when you do something and he just kind of say, okay, that's done, we've got enough of that, or that song is finished. And I think that is such an amazing skill that a lot of people don't have or don't cultivate, especially in the digital world, when you're able to change things and redo them. And you can work on a track forever, and he knows when it's right, he knows when it's done, and that's amazing.
Well, I think a lot of artists struggle with perfection because they're striving for perfection when really they should be striving for excellence. And he can kind of gauge where that perfection is and just go with it without having to think about what could be, because you start to lose the joy of the process when you're honing in on that perfection, which can ruin some people.
Absolutely. And you lose sight of what you're trying to do, which is move people. And if you're, if you're not moving people, you're not doing your job. And you can do something that's absolutely perfect, like note perfect, in tune, in time, recorded beautifully, and it's just not moving, doesn't press those buttons. And I think you've got to be sort of brave enough to say, like, actually, this imperfect performance is more special and more moving and more real than the kind of perfect version. And I think that's why it's important to have producers and to have people like that, because I think as an artist, it's very, very difficult to enforce that on yourself, especially when you're young and you're starting out. You listen to your mistakes and you think, oh my God, that sounds terrible, I can't let people hear that. But actually that's that magic, that point where your voice cracks or something goes wrong. That can be that thing about the track that you just fall in love with, and it just is the reason why it makes you cry. So I think that's a really, really important thing to remember. And I think that's when you've got producers who are brave enough to put those moments into a record, I think that's beautiful.
It's also about perspective as well, because your perspective of something that you've created is your perspective, while someone else's perspective is, a completely different plethora of colors or sounds or whatever. And it's also like that with the audience as well, because they perceive what you're doing in a completely different way to how you perceive it. It's kind of like when you're in a band on stage, you know, Anonymous Tip have talked about it loads of times, where the drummer will say, Taryn, the drummer will say, you know, I can never experience this song the same way that Adrian, the guitarist, will experience it, or the bassist, or me, for example, because he's sitting behind everyone, or the bassist is in one side, or whatever. I think that's the beauty of being a human.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a really, really good point to make because, you know, just your perspective of the song and which part you choose to listen to as well, you know, like, because you have, I know I've got drummer friends who play in bands and they couldn't tell you what any of the lyrics are. They wouldn't be able to tell you. They don't know, but they've got their favorite songs, and of course they know the songs, but they know the song from the floor up. They know it from the rhythm up,
Mm.
and you know, then you've got lead singers who have that thing of being at the front and looking into the audience's eyes, which is a totally different thing from watching from the side or from the back. So yeah, it can be completely different experience for sure.
With regards to you being Reema, the music artist, when did you start performing live? When was your first gig?
Oh, that's an interesting question because it's difficult to pinpoint. It was a couple of years ago, and it was after I'd finished making records as Mimi, and we'd done this record with Stephen Street. We'd had a couple of songs in movies, and you know, things were going well. But then I kind of thought, okay, I'm done with this being signed to a major label. You know, having this kind of feeling of I suppose being A&R'd, being curated, which is important and can be really good. But at that point, you know, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I started songwriting with and for other people. So I kind of gave a break to the whole thing, and then a couple of years ago, my friend Stefan, who plays the bass clarinet with me, he just said, "Look, I play bass clarinet. Should we just go and do some living room concerts?"
Wow.
And I was just like, "Oh, I don't know. Haven't played in a long time. Maybe." And then we just we just ended up going out and just having the most amazing time out in the countryside in Germany, showing up in pubs, barns, people's living rooms, anywhere that would have us, and just kind of developed this two-man show. And I realized like, oh, I haven't done this for so many years, just me and an audience and my friend Stefan. And it was just like a completely different experience than having drums, bass. I mean, by the time we finished the Mimi project, we had playback as well going in the background. We had drums, we had bass, we had keyboards, we had two guys playing drums. I mean, it
Whoa.
was just like huge amount of sound, and yeah, and I was making stage costumes for everyone, and it was sort of like, wow. And then it was just so refreshing and freeing to just go to this point where I just had this tiny little amp that I could just take with me on the train and show up and play. And I play sometimes on my own, sometimes with Stefan. And it was just like, oh, I really like this. And that kind of turned into the Reema project, which was
Wow.
basically just writing songs and putting them straight out and not having too much production or too much, you know, too much fluff around the edges. It's just raw.
Absolutely. And it's really nice when you've come from a place where you've deep dived into this elaborate production, where you're trying to herd cats almost.
Yeah,
Uh,
so true.
and then you pull yourself out of that, you strip it back, and you can breathe again, and you can still go back to that circle of, I don't want to say chaos because that sounds quite negative, because it is a positive space, but
Yeah,
you
it's
just,
positive chaos is a good
yeah.
way of saying it. Yeah.
Like you can still go back to that, but it's just nice to kind of pull yourself out of it, because obviously you can find out where your strengths are, but you can also see where your weaknesses are as well, and hone what it is that's about you in a simple way to communicate with people or audiences in a more refined, stronger way, I guess.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's once you know, once you've played a show completely on your own, you know that you're safe in that little bubble. And then, you know, it is that kind of thing of like in relationships, learning to be self-sufficient, learning to love yourself before you can love other people.
Mm.
It's kind of similar with music in a funny way, because it is this kind of crazy relationship that you have with everyone on stage. And if you feel strong and you're not leaning on anyone, you can actually start really enjoying playing with other people and not feeling like, oh, what would I do, if the guitarist stopped playing, or what would I do if there was no drums? It's like, that would be okay. I know I would be okay. And then you can invite people in because you want them, not because you need them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like a perilous sidestep, but it's a very liberating sidestep. So, Reema, I don't know if you know, I started doing stand-up comedy about 3 years ago.
Oh, that sounds terrifying, but brilliant.
I kind of still had that bug to perform live. And because because we were all getting old and doing different things, we could play, but just not as much as we used to. And I loved going on the road and I loved touring. So I started doing stand up about 3 years ago, and that was terrifying. And now it's not terrifying. I know what I'm doing, but it just goes back to what you were saying about how you kind of strip the support away from you, the kind of network that you're used to, and you just use yourself to become stronger. So I totally get what you're saying there, and it's interesting to hear that from a musician, definitely.
Wow, I think wow, you're so brave. That's brilliant. I mean, I think that's one of the best and most liberating things you can do is just get, it is. I mean, you've gone one step further, which is, I mean, I'm still hiding behind a guitar, but it is just that thing of just sharing a moment with a group of people, jumping in, feeling like you have to prove yourself, or that you have this kind of negative thing that's sort of like you're bad until you prove you're good. And it's just not the case at all. Like, knowing that and trusting that this group of people that are listening to you actually want to like you, they want to let you in, they want to feel something too. And it makes it, I think, more two-way, because you have this very one-way relationship with the audience when you're in a big band or when you're doing big productions, because it's just like, hi, here's our thing, we've rehearsed it loads, listen. And if you go on your own to people, it is literally like a kind of weird massive group blind date where you have to where you're like, are they going to get on with me? And it is, between songs, if you tell a joke or whatever, it depends on the room. You can have a room that's absolutely silent the entire concert, and you're just like, oh my God, they hate me. What am I going to do? Or you have a room full of people that laugh at your jokes and are really warm and really friendly and make it easy for you. And it is just the best, most liberating, wonderful experience.
You're based in Brighton now?
I am, yes. Only just of the last couple of months. Yeah, I just came back from Berlin.
Wow. And whereabouts in Brighton are you?
We're just in Hove, like literally as you enter Hove. So it's like border of Brighton and Hove.
Nice. So there's a couple of artists I work with who are based down there.
Oh, really?
One of them, if you should check her out, she's called Sarah Pope, and she paints lips. And I think she's one of the first female artists to have her piece put in the Vatican to be blessed by the Pope. So she's really cool, and she's doing some great things. But I've spent a bit of time down there working with her, but also there's the Brighton Fringe where they have like lots of comedy and performance and stuff. And with Anonymous Tip, we've performed there, and I love Brighton. It's a fantastic little London by the beach.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's just such a lovely atmosphere, and everybody's friendly. I've just had an amazing experience being here and feeling welcome. And you can just ask anybody, if you need something or you want to know something, you could just ask any person in the street and they'll be friendly to you. And that's just a really great experience. So much art, so much music.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Loads of food places, like really cool little like diners and
oh yeah, the food here is dangerously good. It really is.
So what drew you to Brighton?
Well, I've always wanted to move back to the UK. I don't think I never intended to stay in Germany.
Right.
But circumstances meant that I just kept playing over there and kept building things and had friends and a life and things like that. But I did want to come home. I did want to come home to the UK.
Mm.
And it was a question of where, and traveled around, had a look everywhere. And then my partner played at the Great Escape Festival and
Wow.
called me from Great Escape Festival and said, "It's amazing here. We should live in Brighton." And I was just like, "That's a really good thought. Let's just do it." And we
And
came here. And
your partner's a musician as well then?
yes, yes.
And does he perform with you?
Sometimes when I can make him perform with me, because he's absolutely amazing piano player and
Wow.
keyboard player and all sorts, and plays everything. One of these people that plays everything and is mega talented. And it's actually him who's set up the studio and everything.
Wow. Okay.
So
And you
his
don't mind
his
me
thing.
asking what's his name?
Known as Katie.
Okay. And has he got a website?
Well, you can find him as Katie Kadar, which is KD and then KDAR.
KDA. I'll put him in the notes. And so he's a piano player.
He plays piano, he plays guitar, bass. He's really good, actually a really good bass player. He should do that more. But he's mainly a producer, so he'll produce artists and help them develop their style, develop their songs. And I
Brilliant.
think I've learned a lot from him as well, the way that he works and the way that his kind of work ethic and the way he practices, the way he kind of moves towards being better all the time. And that's really, really inspiring to have somebody in the house that's that kind of, not really, I mean, I can't think of a better word than critical, but that sounds really negative. But he is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
like high standards and wanting to find the best approach to everything. And also working with other artists and having them kind of bringing their demos in, and him taking them from a demo to a kind of releasable kind of piece of art. That's a beautiful process to watch and to kind of be in the other room and experience.
No,
That's
absolutely.
really
It's basically finding those gems and just polishing them so that they, shine ultimately.
yeah, it's such a beautiful supportive role if you want to play it that way. I think being a producer can be so many different things. You can be this kind of megastar producer that shows up and has a sound and just plonks it on top of the band, or you can really kind of listen and help somebody develop themselves and use what's already there, and help them to find the most authentic version of themselves. And I think it's an amazing role, and you need special people to be able to do it.
Absolutely. How did you guys meet?
We met in the studio when I was working in Hamburg.
Okay.
I just finished my first Mimi record with a producer there called Franz Plaza, and I just I didn't really have anywhere else to go. I had this little weird bed sit in Hamburg, and like I said before, like I hadn't really admitted that I'd moved there, but I had a place there. So obviously, I'd moved there. But I didn't have anywhere in my flat to do the artwork for the record. So I was still in the studio doing the artwork for the record. And Katie was there with his band at the time. They're not together anymore, but they were called Nerd. And they were a German speaking band. And
Right.
I started speaking to them. Lovely guys. And then there was Katie at the back, very quiet, good looking guy. I thought he was French for some reason. Like I would convince myself he was French. He's not French. But I thought he was. And I just didn't have the courage to talk to him. And then my manager told me, we're going to be playing a TV show live, the whole record. And we had everybody in the band except for a piano player. And I said, I think that amazing looking guy plays keyboard. And luckily for me, he's actually really, really good. But no, I literally employed him so that he would talk to me.
Oh.
And it didn't work, because all the rehearsals, he just thought he was like, who is this idiot? And then finally, after we'd played the show and everything kind of worked out, we ended up taking a train back from Dessau, where we played the TV show, all the way back to Berlin, and we got talking, and kind of happened from there. Really, we started writing each other emails, and it was a long process, but to get to know each other. But it was funny because our friends, since since they met both of us, they were like, "Oh, you guys are totally going to get married," and we were just like, "What?" But yeah, but now here we are, living in Brighton together, many
Brighton,
years later. Yes,
that's awesome. And so he's a German native.
he has a German passport. He's actually born in Israel.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay,
many
awesome.
many nationalities.
Awesome. So who are you managed by at the moment?
I am managed by Meredith Cork, who's been a friend of mine since ever, really. I mean, she came to see me playing a show. I think I must have been 15, and playing on my own. And she worked with Battle Cat as well a little bit. And
Oh, okay.
so we've known each other for so many years. And then finally, a couple of years later, we just kind of reconnected. I just wrote her because I was somewhere near where she lived, and I said like, "Oh, I think I'm near where you live because I've seen pictures on your Facebook. I think that you live here." And she was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." She made some little rough Reema recordings, and I went to her and she said, "Come on, let's put these out. This is really cool." And
Awesome.
she's kind of helped get this thing going.
Do you have a publishing deal at the moment?
No, I'm out. I was with Peer
Okay.
Publishing for many years, and they were actually really good to me. I recommend Peer. I think they're great. But when that publishing contract kind of run out, I kind of realized, like it's quite nice to do without publishing for a little while, particularly when you just what you want to do, you're building something. I think it's good not to jump into that relationship because it's an important.
Absolutely. And, publishing can come to you as a musician at certain times in your career, can go in certain directions, and you can kind of, jump ship or take a pause or whatever, because they're songs, and those songs are need to be nurtured, but sometimes they need a bit of space as well from the business side of things, I mean.
Absolutely. And I think also that the roles, I think in all those roles in the music industry at the moment, like so from publishing to record labels to distribution, all of these kind of roles have been shaken up by a kind of brand new system that's still developing and still finding its feet. And what you expect from your publisher, what you expect from your record label, what you expect from people who are doing your PR, whatever it is, it's becoming different all the time. And I think those role setting, and you have to kind of really experiment to see what works for you, what works for the people around you, and find a setup that really kind of gels and gets everything going. And I think that can be sometimes a little bit of an unorthodox homemade setup can be what's best at the time.
Yeah, I mean, just from my experience in the music industry, like over the last 25 years, there's never one defined route into becoming successful as an artist. Like every artist I meet has gone in all sorts of directions and done X, Y, Z. And I think you just have to be prepared to roll your sleeves up and take chances. Obviously put in the hard work as well.
Absolutely. I think that's the main thing, is that there's no substitute for hard work. And I think that's with it, we've got these reality TV shows and all these kind of things, like you sort of that would have you believe otherwise. I think, like you sort of watch X Factor and go like, "Oh, I just have to sing really in tune like 8 times and people have to like me," and just there we go. It's not, I mean, it's a development, and it's a struggle. And I know that it's become a very sort of popular press story to be like, "Oh, this guy, he just touched the guitar and wrote amazing," and everyone, it's just like, that's not what happens. It's not what happens to anybody. It's work, and it's hard, and it's uphill, and you have victories and you have defeats every day, and you just have to keep, that the only way to do it is to just keep going.
So Reema, the new EP Lioness is out on the 21st of May. Is that right?
It's actually out on the 22nd of May.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my bad.
No, it's not your bad at all. We changed it because we thought we would be different and come out on a Thursday. But then the team just went, "No, you can't do that." So we were like, oh, so now it's the 22nd of May.
No, that's cool. I mean, that
So,
just made some really good audio.
much as I'd love to be like, no, you got it wrong. You didn't get it wrong.
So you're going to perform
we
a
like
track
to
for us
keep you on
now.
your toes. Yes.
You're going to perform a track for us now, and the track's called Stargazing, which is going to be on the record, right?
Right. Yes. I wrote it after I lost someone who was really, really important to me, and she was like my
So,
fairy godmother. You know, someone who was just really important. And we used to look at stars together, and she used to make mythology, kind of her own mythology about what the stars were doing and all these little stories. And
wow.
so she's with me. I feel like when we lose somebody that's really, really important, those little acts of kindness, those little moments that you remember, those beautiful little stories that they have around them, like they stay with you, like no one can take those away from you. So she kind of lives on in those moments. So when I have those moments when I know that she would say, oh, there's amazing stars tonight, let's tell stories, I knew, I can feel her with me. So that's what the song is about.
Amazing. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reema, and she's going to be performing Stargazing.
The river is quiet tonight, she won't speak. Perhaps she's jealous I've been gone all these years. So I put on my boots, find something warm to wear, and I pour you a drink, even though you're not there. You are a part of me more than a memory. I'm with you when I'm stargazing. You are a part of me more than a memory. I'm with you when I'm stargazing. And I'm holding on tight, though there's nothing in my arms. The air of the past is filling my lungs, and I keep my phone by me in case you might call, though I know very well that you won't anymore. You are a part of me more than a memory. I'm with you when I'm stargazing. You are a part of me more than a memory. I'm with you when I'm stargazing. Stargazing with you. And your kindness is with me, your humor is with me, your stories tell on, so you're with me. You are a part of me more than a memory. I'm with you when I'm stargazing. You are a part of me more than a memory. I'm with you when I'm stargazing. Stargazing with you. Stargazing with you.
Wow,
Thanks.
that was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's amazing because I haven't seen you sing for about 15 years.
Quite a
And
gap.
yeah, But I remember you guys having so much stage presence on stage, and just listening to that just now, it really, I mean, the song was just so haunting, and there was just so much power there. It was beautiful,
Oh,
absolutely beautiful.
thank you so much. So a real pleasure to play it for you, and thank you so much for having me on here.
No worries. No, it's going to be brilliant. I'm sure people listening will love it too. Got a few more questions before we close off. You're a visual artist
Yes.
and you do the artwork for your records.
Mhm.
Tell us about your art background.
Well, my mum actually studied art. Like she's a massive creative, and she did a lot of art with me when I was very young. And so art was always kind of around. Like I grew up without a TV, for the first few years. So it was, the way that we had fun. And we'd always draw each other. And so she kind of encouraged me and taught me to draw in that sense.
Wow.
So I've always had drawing. Like drawing was always really part of what I do. And she let me paint my bedroom walls with whatever I wanted. So I had these giant faces and birds and all sorts of things just all over my walls. So that was great training. So yeah, it kind of, again, like the music, it kind of comes from this kind of deep childhood expression, and it's just kind of part of it's really become sort of part of who I am in many ways.
Awesome. And then with regards to the artwork that you're doing now, so you do all of the art for your records.
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny because I didn't actually intend to do it, but when I made my first record as Mimi for Warner Music, and we had this sort of major record deal and all of this, and I found this graphic designer who I absolutely loved, and I thought he was amazing, and we got on really, really well, and we started throwing some ideas at each other. This was like before the record was even finished, and then unfortunately he died because
I'm so sorry.
he was very elderly, and he was ill, so it was something that you know we were, they always say you expect something when somebody's ill and they're old, and people say, oh, weren't you expecting it? But it's always a shock.
Absolutely.
But we lost him, and after that I just thought, oh, you know what, I don't want anyone else to do it. I want to do it. So I started putting stuff together and putting it in front of the record company, and of course they were like, what is this? we can't use this. But then I had a really, really amazing product manager there called Nina, who really believed in me and just said, no, this is special, this is different, let's use it. And
Okay.
that kind of gave me the confidence to do it more because, I knew I wasn't a graphic designer. I knew I wasn't trained, and, I couldn't put together a record sleeve, but she kind of encouraged me. And so, with the magic of the internet, I kind of learned how to put things together. And, I definitely wouldn't stretch to calling myself a professional, but I really, really enjoy doing it. And I think it's right for my music because it's so personal.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key word there is you enjoy doing it. It's
Yeah.
not a chore, which shows in the artwork, I'm sure.
That's absolutely true. It's really it's such a pleasure to do, and I think if what you do is a pleasure for you to do, I think other people can kind of share in that and sort of say, "Oh, that looks enjoyable."
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming your artwork's on the vinyls that were released, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they both sold out, so the proof is in the pudding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so look, we're coming to the end of the show. Lots of people on here, I'm pretty sure, will want to get in contact with you. What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Basically, Instagram and Facebook. You can write me on either one of those, and I'll always reply. I might take a day, but I will always reply. So do write me and do say hello, and yeah.
Awesome. And on Facebook, it's Reema, Reema. Is that right?
Yes,
And on
exactly.
Instagram, it's Reema Music. So Reema Music.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Reema, you've been amazing. Seriously, it's been a real pleasure to bump into someone after so long.
That was so nice. And I really, please write me and tell me when you guys are playing, because I'd absolutely love to hear you play again. Because Anonymous Tip are a fantastic band. And if anyone hasn't heard them play, go and hear them play. It's
You're
just
too kind.
so much fun.
And you were awesome. Just that performance just now.
Thank you.
Awesome. Really, really appreciate it. For those of you listening, again, this has been episode 6 of Sanj Surati Talks. The hashtag Sanj Surati Talks, all one word. Wherever you are, I hope you're well during this dodgy time. Take care of each other, and we'll see you on the next episode.